All right, it's great to be in your company one more time as we look at the issues that are trending everywhere in the country, Ghana. My name is Nathaniel Attoh. I'm back by the rest of the Joy Sports team, and I welcome you to another edition of Sports Night right here on the Joy Sports channel on Multi TV. Tonight, we are taking a look at Kumasi Asante Kotoko, the most successful club here on the local scene, having won 22 league titles and, of course, have tasted continental glory before. But recently, Asante Kotoko had to bow out of the most prestigious continental club competition, which is the CAF Champions League, and this was at the hands of Barak Young Controllers of Liberia, a club which obviously is not at par with Kotoko in terms of pedigree. But, well, nowadays football has changed and things happen, to the surprise of fans sometimes. And the calculations are no more even, and the calculations no more favor who has the bigger pedigree. The reason why Barak Young Controllers were able to stun Kumasi Asante Kotoko and get through to the next stage of the preliminary round of the CAF Champions League. But this has come after a round of many complaints here and there on the part of the fans' body, the Circles Union, and also many other stakeholders of Kumasi Asante Kotoko who say that things are not necessarily going very well. Yes, Kumasi Asante Kotoko may be enjoying the top spot in the Ghana Premier League, and things may be going well on the football pitch, but off the football pitch, there are issues. News just coming in indicates that Yahya Mohammed, who played for Ghana at the Chan tournament, has signed a contract without the knowledge of the current management of the club, which is led by Opokunti, who's playing an acting role. We'll be discussing that to start off a discussion on what at all is wrong at Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So you stay right there. I'm sure that this is a discussion that you'll be very much interested in. The reason why you have to stay right there behind your screen. Very shortly, we'll continue the discussion. And here with me in the studio is Jerome Ochre, who writes for the official mouthpiece of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, knows the issues inside out, and we'll be looking at what at all the problem is with Kumasi Asante Kotoko and what should be the solutions going forward if we want to save the club from trouble. You stay right there. This is Sports Night. All right, thank you very much for staying with us here on Sports Night. And just remember that Brazil 2014 is approaching gradually. And of course, there's a 2014 package from African Origin Travel and Sports Tourism, which includes visas, airline, tickets, accommodation, match tickets, and internal transfers. So all you need to do is register now with $100 and just locate us, the equivalent of $100, I mean. And you can locate the offices of African Origin Travel and Tours in Accra, at the Osu Oxford Street near Photo Club. And in Kumasi is at the Ofori traffic light. And in Sunyani is around the stadium on the first floor of the Sam Bennett building. Just contact us on 0544-322-111 or 2 or 3 or 0544-347-001. You can also send an email to info@ao-tours.com or also visit ao-tours.com. So this package is available for corporate businesses, supporters, businessmen, and women as well. Okay, so Jerome Ochre is here with me in the studio. Jerome, is good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, let's begin with the latest news that just came in about Yahya Mohammed signing for a Libyan club. Immediately, if anybody reads that story, they'll say, hey, that should be good news for Yahya Mohammed. But he makes a move to Etihad of Tripoli. And there are issues in the background.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have the permission of the club to do that.
Absolutely. And I didn't know of it. I mean, a media colleague called me a few hours ago to tell me, in fact, to ask me whether I know that Yahya Mohammed is in Libya signing for a club. And I said, no, I have no idea. The last time I checked with him and what was happening to him, I was told he's in Tema, and I just couldn't believe it. So I called the acting manager of the club, which is Opokunti, and he confirmed that he's also heard it, but he cannot tell whether it's true or false. He, however, forwarded to me a text message which indicated that it was true that Yaya is in Libya, and I have seen pictures of him with the club, and pictures don't lie.
Okay, now I'm on Facebook now, and I've gone on my good friend Aminu Shadow of Ghana SoccerNet page, and he has this thing here. It says Yaya Mohammed denies signing for Etihad of Tripoli. So the 90 Minutes asked him, have you signed for the Libyan outfit Etihad Tripoli? He says no. And he says, I still have a contract with Kotoko. They just want me after my contract with Kotoko ends. So how many months do you have on your Kotoko contract? That was a question posed to him. And he says, according to this report we are getting here from 90 Minutes, it says about 3 months. It's just a personal agreement with them. I'm talking about Etihad of Tripoli. I have a contract with Kotoko, so I can't sign for any club, but I have agreed personal terms with Etihad Tripoli. That's when Kotoko failed to give me a better offer.
Okay. I think what is there is true, and I see a lot of wisdom in that. But the only problem Kotoko has with what he has done is that, nobody is barring him from going to a new club if he so decides. But the point is, what is it that will prevent you from seeking permission to travel? Because if you have your coach, if you have your acting manager, and even the operations manager, and none of them is aware that you are traveling, it doesn't speak well of even the club. It doesn't speak well of the player. I know that Yaya's contract, it's due to end somewhere in May or early June. So he goes to confirm the fact that he has a few months to end his contract. But what we are saying is that what stops you from telling Kotoko that you are traveling? It doesn't take anything away from Kotoko. It doesn't take anything away from you. It is only courteous that when you are with people in an institution and you want to travel, you just keep them informed. And whatever they have to tell you, they will let you know.
Okay.
My difficulty with these things is that it only exposes Kotoko as a club that is not structurally, organized. Things are not as it is or as it should be. And that goes to give a lot more bad publicity to us, which is not good.
All right. Remaining on this subject of Yaya Mohammed, what is the likely sanction that he may get for doing this?
I'm not too sure if there will be any sanction at all, because I'm aware that the FIFA...
Because, of course, I want to guess that today, for instance, there have been training sessions.
Yes.
There will be training sessions.
As we speak, the team is in Takrady preparing for an outstanding league match against Mediama on Thursday.
Of course, so he's not in camp.
He obviously has broken camp rules, but I cannot say specifically which of the rules that he has broken and what the sanctions are there for him. All I'm saying is that if he had informed the club that he was traveling, it would have been courteous. It's just polite that you do such things, but he didn't do that. And some of the arguments I've heard people make, which I'm not in any position to doubt, is that if he has less than 6 months left on his contract, he has that legitimacy to enter into pre-contract arrangements with any club he chooses. And that is true. I'm not sure Kotoko will fault that. What Kotoko is saying is that nothing stopped him from informing the club that he's traveling. And it's as simple as that.
And it's obviously a very bad precedence for those who are sitting back and watching and talking about his teammates and all.
Absolutely. And I'm informed, reliably informed from camp, that some of the players had it and they were more or less amused that, if you are not going to do anything about our welfare, this is how we'll go. And don't forget, Kofi Ntibuachi did the same thing. And so it is an emerging trend, which is worrying. And I think the only way we can stop it is to put our structures in place. If there is a welfare manager or somebody at the helm of affairs who is controlling events in the club, there's no way a player will pick his passport and travel without the knowledge of the club.
Well, you're still here on Sports Night on Joy Sports on Multi TV. We're discussing Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Ghana's most successful league club is under the spotlight. And we are just looking at what is possibly wrong, what should be the way forward for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. And here with me is Jerome Otri, who writes for the Kotoko Express newspaper, the official mouthpiece of the club. He was also there in South Africa during the Chan tournament where Ghana finished with a silver medal. Now, so we come to the failure to go, to progress in the preliminary stage in the CAF competition, the Champions League. How much of an embarrassment is it that a whole committee was put together to put all of this together, and Kotoko crumbled just at the start of the journey?
I think it's a huge embarrassment. I mean, it's not a situation that any member of the Africa Committee or even the entire club expected. Some of us believed that if not for anything, I mean, we could have at least exited in the third round and have the opportunity to play in the Confederation. That is, if we were not going to get to the league stage proper. And there are factors that accounted for that. And I am convinced that these are factors that if we are well organized, if we are doing things the way we should, we probably could have, eliminated this Liberian club and progressed. I mean, particularly so when last year we exited in the second round, and some of us thought that we could have built on that and maybe, get to the third round and perhaps the league stage. And all that didn't happen. We only crashed out just at the beginning. It is an embarrassment. But, like I said, there are factors which contributed to that. And maybe if we go deep into it, we'll see.
What are the factors, Gerald?
I think that in as much as the Africa Committee was committed to ensuring that Kotoko performs well in Africa, certain things were not done properly. And I'm of the opinion that the committee, for instance, was constrained by, trying to get money to even do things. Here is the case. We have a committee which is a subcommittee of the club's board. And that committee draws its power from the board. But if he wants to do something, and in trying to get to the board, it becomes difficult. You are left with no choice than to go the way you think is the best. For example, I know that if we had enough money from the beginning of the season, planning towards this competition, we probably could have got some more experienced players on the continent rather than having to rely on what is here, which, isn't the best. I have said that on the local scene, Kotoko is the best, and the competition we are in clearly shows that we are the best. But on the continent, you are playing against clubs which have players from other countries who are good. And so if you go in with your local talents, which really do not have what it takes to compete on the league, on the continental stage, then you are bound to crash out. You and I know that, particularly with the North African clubs, they have the money, they have all it takes to, purchase players from outside to strengthen their teams. This is something Kotoko has not been able to do. Even though I concede we have 2 foreigners in our team, I do not think that we have that team that has that cutting edge to get onto the African stage and beat every opponent that comes our way.
All right, now Opokunti is acting. He does not have a team in place, yet everything is running. It surely has had a very, very bad effect on the way things have been done.
Yeah, because, Opokunti on a number of occasions has been asked what exactly his plan for Kotoko is. And he will tell you, I do not have any substantive plan because I do not even know how long I'm going to stay on. So even if it's a short-term plan, that short-term plan cannot be defined because he's in an acting position, and his position is there until further notice, which means that it can end today. And how do you expect a manager of a club like Kotoko to have a plan that only lasts for 48 hours or 24 hours or less? That is one problem Opokunti has faced. There have been those who have questioned his competence, and I have always said that I wouldn't want to go into that argument because in the first place, he doesn't have the mandate to even do things substantively. So how do you question his competence? I think that what the board should do in this situation is either to confirm him, give him specific targets, within a certain period. And then we all observe him. We give him the support that he needs. If he fails, we come back and assess why he failed. If he performs, we do the same assessment. And if it means that we have to renew his mandate, we go ahead and do it. But in the situation where he acted for 3 months and then had a renewal, which nobody knows when it will end or whether it is going to continue, he doesn't help Opokunti. And in the larger interest of Kotoko, it is bad.
All right. So there are calls as well from various sections, of the fans' body and all of that, that the current board has to, vacate. The current board has to be, removed. I'll be picking your thoughts on that after this round of commercials. Remember, you're here on Sports Night, and it's only here on the Joy Sports channel on Multi TV. We're discussing Kumasi Asante Kotoko and the issues in the background. Obviously, on the pitch, it's going pretty well because Kotoko tops the league table, but there are issues. You stay right there. A round of commercials, and we continue, and Jerome will be answering that question about what he also thinks of some of the calls coming in for the board itself to step down. All right, so I'm just asking that question. There have been suggestions that the board of Kotoko should be dissolved. Jerome?
It's a very painful point that some of us have come to, or Kotoko has come to, because I remember vividly in September last year when the Asantehene, the owner of the club, was inaugurating the current board. He virtually expressed pain over how there has been changes over and there, all the time, and that he thought this board was going to last. And so if after 5-6 months there are calls for the board to be removed, then it's obviously a painful situation. But I think the calls are legitimate on the basis of some of the things I have seen personally. I do not think that this board has demonstrated enough commitment to the cause of Asante Kotoko. And a typical example is the situation where the previous administration had a handing over notes, over 20 pages of what was done and what they needed to continue. And it was quite easy to come in, have a document on where the club was going. If you think that whatever was being done was inappropriate, you just come out with yours. But here we are, almost 6 months into the administration, and there's no clear-cut policy direction for Kotoko. And so if supporters on that basis call for the dismissal or the removal of that board, I think it is legitimate because there are, good reasons to back those calls.
You spoke about the previous administration, and the layman on the street will ask, okay, the club was doing well. Kotoko won the league during that period. Not much trouble coming from Accra Hearts of Oak, their arch rivals.
That's true.
Why would the club part ways with a figure like Dr. K.K. Sapon?
I do not think it was the club that parted ways with Dr. Sapon.
He resigned, but
it was
obviously it was because he saw something coming.
Of course, and
he didn't want to, go through that embarrassment of having.
It has always been difficult for me to analyze the exit of Dr. Sapon, especially his resignation, the reasons for it, because he never stated it. It wasn't made public as to why he left. All we have been doing is to assume what could have been the reasons, and I think it is out there. Everybody knows what presumably forced him out, and I think that in a way, supporters of the club were not patient with a lot of the things he was doing, particularly with player transfers or player sales. It's one situation that I personally feel that, those of us in the media have been very hypocritical about, because we know the problems footballers in this country are facing, and when offers come, irrespective of how low they are, those low or those unattractive offers are still better than what the players earn here. And so it was something that Dr. Sapon found very difficult to control. where you have players and their relatives coming to you, giving you pressure to sell their awards so that they will get something to take care of their families. Which club chairman in this country, have been able to stand up against that? So it's not been easy. And I have said that it is something that will come back and hit Kotoko right in the face, because if we keep producing the so-called good players, the offers will come and they will leave no matter what we do, because we cannot pay those salaries that, the North African clubs, for instance, come in to pay. TP Mazembe is paying some of our players $5,000 and $10,000. Which Ghanaian club at the moment?
Per month?
Yes, per month. Which Ghanaian club at the moment can pay that? It's not possible on the basis of what we all know here. It's just not possible. And so, Doctor, in my opinion, was trying to let us know the reality of the situation and how best we can handle it. But people thought that as a result of that, he wasn't treating Kotoko fairly by selling the quality players we had. And I think that on the evidence of what has happened since his exit, Kotoko hasn't benefited in any way, because when he was there, even though he had his weaknesses, some of the things that we have seen now didn't happen or were not happening. And it's very sad for Kotoko, particularly when we can't speak of any direction. At least if Doctor wasn't doing anything right, as for his vision for the club, it was so clear. And an example is the office complex that he was putting up.
And I hear now it's stalled. It's
yes,
not.
It has. And I remember I had a problem when I went in to take photographs of the project, which at that point, somewhere in November, was being overtaken by weeds. We took pictures of it, published it, and people tagged me as anti-Kotoko, when we were only exposing some of the things that previous administrations have done and which were being left to ruin. That is not something any Kotoko fan should be proud of. And that's why we are saying that it is important for the current board to sit up, look at the current state of affairs, and offer solutions to it. If they cannot, then they probably have to walk to the owner of the club and tell him that they can't continue.
I see. All right. So, with all of this, what happens to Kotoko's performance on the pitch?
I think if we can wait, perhaps Thursday will tell when we play Mediama, because in Africa we've seen that it was bad and we can't reverse that. But on the local scene, we are yet to play. The league started about 2 weeks ago. We are yet to play our first game. And I'm sure the direction or the future of Kotoko regarding the Premier League, the local Premier League, could be determined with how things go on Thursday and even Monday when we play Dwarfs. And so for that, I would want to wait to see, because I have a feeling that emotions went so down in Monrovia, and coming back to Accra, traveling to Takoradi and then to Takwa to play on Thursday, if I was a member of the technical team, it would be very difficult to motivate the boys. But that's why they are paid to work. I just have the confidence that they will be able to lift the boys, the morale of the boys, and they will be able to perform. But I would want to wait to see how things will go.
All right. Now, why are we not getting to that point where we will see the appointment of a chief executive to say, look, do this, and what could possibly be the problem? Why is the board not taking those bold steps?
You see, it is difficult. These are very legitimate questions, and they are questions that any smart, intelligent journalist will ask. The supporters are also asking similar questions. And it's difficult to provide answers because, we've not heard from the board, and I cannot speak for the board. What I know is that it's been difficult to reach them. I have tried a couple of times to get to the board chairman. I didn't succeed. And in that situation, it is difficult to think why the appointment of a CEO has been difficult. And I wish you had listened to what the owner of the club said during the inauguration. It was so clear, so direct that one wouldn't think that it would be difficult for any board taking over. I mean, listening to those words will find it difficult appointing somebody, because the owner of the club made it so clear that I think that Dr. X's exit has, created some sort of vacuum. Opokunti was able to steer affairs of the club, and I remember the Asantehene making it clear that the club could have, driven into a ditch, but Opokunti was able to steer affairs well. So as you come in, I'm not saying don't go and appoint Opokunti. I believe he's done well, but it is up to you to decide. All you needed to do was to either confirm him or appoint a new person. They gave him an interim mandate which expired, and what was expected was just to come out and say, this is what we think Opokunti should be doing, and so we are giving him the mandate. But they've not done that. And Nat, it's very difficult to tell why they've not done that. None of them has spoken to that issue, and we can only speculate or guess why they are not doing what they are supposed to do.
All right. With all of this, I'm sure you've monitored the work of the fans, the circles. I do not see them pushing enough for some of these things to happen. For instance, that they put pressure on the board and say, look, appoint a new CEO, appoint somebody substantively, and let the person give us results. Give the person key performance indicators by which you judge the person over a certain period of time. It's not happening.
You see, I know that if you are taking the regional circles councils and their leaders, or the leadership of the various circles councils, I know that some of them have been pushing for that. But you see, on the national front, they find themselves in a fix, because the NCC chairman, the National Circles chairman, is a member of the board. And how does the NCC go in to call for the removal of the board when the NCC chairman...
So do you think that arrangement, for instance, or that position, for instance, on the board should be looked at again?
I think to some extent it should be considered, because in the situation where the supporters of the club are agitating for instance, the removal of the board, and that the leadership of the supporters, one of them is a member of the board, there is some conflict there. And I do not see how anybody would want to pick a gun and shoot himself or herself in a situation like that. And
but also, if I'm guessing that once that is done, or just in case that position of the circles is removed from the board, then the circles do not have a say in major decisions that are taken.
That's the point. And I think it's an interesting situation, scenario. Yes, which has to be handled well. I think what could be done, if I was the NCC chairman, for instance, I'll listen to the supporters, take their views, ask it is, and take it to the board. And in that situation, you wouldn't be propagating their message. You would only be carrying their message. And to the extent that you put it to the board, and the board doesn't work on it, the supporters will know. I trust Kotoko supporters so much. They are a group of people who cannot be taken for granted by anybody. And when they agitate for something, particularly on legitimate grounds, they always get it. And in this case, it may be too long, it may come late, but I'm very sure in the end, the calls by the supporters would be heeded to. Something will be done about the situation. I personally wouldn't call for the dismissal of the entire board. I think that they should just be asked to do what they are supposed to do. If they cannot do it, then their dismissal will be justified.
Do you have an idea who advises Otumfuo Seitu, to the owner of the club, on all of these matters? Who at all does that?
I have absolutely no idea, and I cannot guess. I don't know, and I don't want to guess. I think that...
And if there were, I know this is a bit of a sensitive area. If there were somebody or a group of people who are advising him on these football matters or issues concerning the club, then they surely are not doing their work well, are they?
That is a point that I have sometimes disagreed with. And I have done that because, you see, there have been situations where the club has been given to people who, blatantly failed. There have been situations like Dr. Sapon's own, where he voluntarily pulled out. Wrote to the owner of the club saying that he's no more going to work as Kotoko chairman. And in that situation, regardless of who appoints the chairman, you cannot blame him for anything because the person himself, threw in the towel. And where, for instance, managers of the club failed, do you blame the one who appointed them? No. I have seen situations in Kotoko where there was power struggle. And in that situation, you do not blame the appointing authority because the appointing authority might have done his check all right and then given the club to a number of people to manage. If in the end, those people go back and do what they are not supposed to do, you don't come back blaming the appointing authority. I think that we just have to accept responsibility for certain things. And I would be glad if the current board comes out to say they think, they have not performed to expectation, and for that reason, they would want to bow out so that those who are willing to manage the club will come in and do it to the satisfaction of the supporters.
We're still discussing Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and here with me in the studio is the man, Jerome Ochre, who writes for the Kotoko Express newspaper. Just remember that Brazil 2014 is coming, and there's a big package from African origin travel and sports tourism. So the World Cup Brazil package includes a visa, airline tickets, accommodation, match tickets, and internal transfers. All you need to do is to register with the equivalent of $100. And locate us as at Accra, the Osu Oxford Street near Photo Club, and also in Kumasi at the Ofori Chrome traffic light, and in Sunyani around the stadium on the first floor of the Sam Bennett building. So contact us on 0544 322 111 or 2 or 3 or 0544 347 001. You can send an email as well to info@ao-tours.com or ao-tours.com. That's the website. And of course, remember the package is also available for corporate businesses, supporters, and businessmen as well as business women. Brazil 2014 is coming up, and surely it will be a time to celebrate great football. We're talking football here on the local scene with a very highly achieved club, a traditional club, which is on the hearts of many. And I'm sure that all of you would want to keep with us as we discuss more into this matter. A round of commercials, and we continue the show. All right. Okay, so Jerome, you've seen the situation with Yaya Mohammed. You mentioned Kofi Ntibwachi as well. Now, if you look around, do you see any player looking like he's heading towards the exit?
If we are going by their contracts, then obviously some of them. I would love to have the list in front of me so that I can be very specific. But I know that more than 5 of them have their contracts coming to an end. And you can't predict who will go to Libya or who will go to Tunisia or Algeria or wherever. Because what I've seen is that when the offer comes, it is their agents or their managers who are always in the know. And if they want to pull a fast one on Kotoko, they won't tell you. So perhaps we have to sit with our eyes widely open and listen to people outside or around the club so that some of this information will come in. Kotoko will be able to take care of them just when they come in. Because, for instance, Pokuntin was only alerted by somebody, and it's not what we have been asking for. But when you don't have things properly organized or properly being done, some of these things happen.
And just hitting my curiosity a bit, what happened in the instance of Kofi Ntibwachi for the purposes of those who may not have followed that story?
Yeah, his situation was that his contract was coming to an end. Kotoko needed to sit down with him for a renewal. That didn't happen. The contract just ended and he went as a free agent. And I'm just refreshing my memory. Emmanuel also fell into the same situation. His contract was coming to an end. Kotoko tried to engage him. It didn't work. And he signed for a club for free. And what happens is that in the end, Kotoko doesn't get anything from the transfer money. And I mean, it's not fair to sometimes give the platform to some of these players, and at the end of the day, they go freely.
All right. Now, so the squad that went to the Chan tournament had as many as 8 Kotoko players in there.
That's true.
Okay, so probably there are negative effects coming from a very good showing at the continental competition.
I think so. And Didi Dramani, the coach of Kotoko, made that point clearly when he said that after the BYC game in Kumasi, we asked him and he said, yes, he thinks that the Chan had both positive and negative effects. And obviously, some of us were interested in the negatives, which he said, for instance, had to do with injuries. Michael Ekufu had an injury as a result of the Chan, and for that reason, he could not play in the 2 Africa matches we played. So on that score, it was negative. And also, while you may think that the players got exposure, it was a big platform to some extent. They were able to showcase their talents, and that was good, maybe for their confidence. They built their confidence and all that. The scouts were also out there watching them, and at the end of the day, they will come to the table with what they think they can offer you for your players. So, to some extent, yes, it was negative, but there's practically nothing we can do about this. I think that if our system was that organized and we are doing things properly, maybe we'll sit down with these agents and negotiate properly rather than the players trying to abscond and going to do their own thing.
All right. And also, probably there is a need to sit back and relook at the strategy of how, players move in and out of Kotoko.
Exactly. And it comes back to the same point about management. If you have 2 people all acting in an acting capacity, working in an acting capacity, Pokunti is the acting general manager, the operations manager is George Kennedy. These 2 people...
I'm sure that you've been having conversations with Opokunti.
Yeah.
How does he feel about all of this, and how does he take all of this?
Opokunti,
I'm wondering.
From what I've seen of him, he's a very calm person. He hardly shows emotion, and maybe it's because, in Kotoko he's a legend. He's played for Kotoko so well. He also played for the national team, and was a great player. So maybe he understands these things better than some of us do. That's why perhaps we will go showing emotion over some of these developments. But, if words are anything to be believed, then he is worried, because there have been times that once I asked him whether he's worried over the fact that he's not been confirmed. And he told me yes, because, even if he is to show what plans he has for the club, he cannot bring those plans out because he doesn't know when his tenure is ending. And it will not be fair for him to come out with a plan and say, I have a 1-year development plan, when you are only acting to a point that you cannot tell. So it worries him. From what I have heard him say, it is clear that he is worried, just that he sometimes would not show it. Okay,
so this has existed for some time now. How then is it that the play on the pitch or the team's outlook does not reflect much of that?
I think that on the local scene, I have said that I do not think the other clubs are doing anything better than what we are doing. They find themselves in the same situation. Excuse me to use this word, but a lot of them are in the same mess, except that they do not make news. Kotoko make news, and that is why you hear these things coming up. I do not think that if, for instance, it was Kotoko that was in Dwarf's position, we will be here sitting talking like this. The chaos would have been much bigger than it is now. But Dwarfs is in Africa. They are languishing on the league table. Yes. Yeah. But nobody is talking about them. They are not receiving the reviews Kotoko is receiving at the moment. So
that's the price you pay for.
It's
for
also
all the pedigree.
It's also about what Kotoko represents in the Ghana Premier League. And like I said, the other clubs are not doing much to really differentiate.
Then it brings back this whole conversation about the FIFA club licensing system, where clubs are supposed to have certain minimum, are supposed to fulfill or to comply with certain minimum rules and standard regulations as well.
Exactly.
And one of them I do remember very clearly is the presence of an administration with certain structures. So it means that Ghana may not be able to implement the club licensing system even from the basics.
I would love to assemble all the facts to draw such a conclusion. But if what we are seeing and what we are hearing is anything to go by, then probably we may not be able to satisfy those conditions or those demands. What I see of the Ghanaian football situation using the local Premier League alone is that it is people who are interested in football who are running football. And it is not as if they see it as a business that they really want to do and develop to help football development. It's just about their passion. And when you have a situation where people are doing things just with passion, you are bound to fail when the scientific methods come in, because then you'll be falling short.
I see. All right, so we're approaching, more matches. We just started off the second half of the Ghana Premier League season. Now, other clubs are also, trying their best to catch up with Asante Kotoko. Do you see any situation changing, analyzing from the way clubs have performed so far?
I think it will be tough, very tough. I would love to see Kotoko in the next 2 matches to make a better judgment, because from what I've seen of the players.
I mean, is there any club that has shown that they can't just take top position on the league table and stay there for a while?
If Kotoko is not doing that, then probably Hearts of Oak, even though they are quite a distance away from Kotoko. But I was going to say that if Kotoko is able to win the next 2 matches, then we may not have that situation, because Kotoko would have then stretched their lead further. But if there should be any slip, then perhaps the gap, anytime the gap is closed, should the gap be closed anytime from now, we could have that situation happening. Hearts of Oak may have their own problems, but I think that within them, that potential to upstage Kotoko is always there, particularly when Kotoko is not doing well.
I know you move around a lot when you're in Accra, here in Accra, and also when you're in Kumasi, and you're able to gauge the mood of the fans, the regular fans who pay their money to go and watch Kotoko play. What is the regular theme, or what is the common theme or the chorus that is running along the things they tell you?
I think for now, all they are feeling, their general feeling is that things are not good. And I have a feeling that it will take some impressive performances on the pitch to erase that perception that things are not good. But then, should there be any slip, it will further deepen that feeling that things are really bad and something ought to be done about it. If Kotoko Express is to be used to gauge the feeling of the supporters, then I can tell you that they are really not happy. Today, I was speaking to some guys who have been circulating the paper, and they will tell me even the regular, those who patronize the paper very well, come and they ask questions before they buy. If you have the loyal fans asking questions before they want to buy the paper, then
because Kotoko fans ordinarily do not have an issue at all patronizing.
Not at all. I know Kotoko fans who go to the newsstands and buy 2-3 copies and distribute to friends. And if they would ask you why they have to buy the paper at this stage, then it tells you that they are really not happy. And I think that we have to sit up. We really have to give the fans something to cheer about. And I believe that a few changes in the managerial setup will definitely restore that confidence and change the look of things now.
How will you also assess the internal strength of the club, especially at a time like this? We've seen the likes of Okweu United, who used to be very strong traditional forces within Ghana football, slump into the second tier of Ghana football. They've not been able to return since. This is all because there is some weakness within, because somebody says, okay, it's your turn. Go do it, let's see.
Yeah.
How would you assess the internal strength of Asante Kotoko in these tough times?
I think internally Kotoko is very strong. I do not see Kotoko breaking up. Maybe it's something that will happen not in our lifetime. From the way I see things, I don't believe that Kotoko will break up as a result of some of these things, because the spirit of the team, from what I know, is tied to the golden stool, and that's a very powerful thing. I don't think that it is something we should even imagine. It's not going to happen. Perhaps until the end of the world.
All right, so we would round up the discussion now, and Kotoko out of the CAF Champions League. Clearly, the sight is on the league title, retaining it, and of course probably the MTN FA Cup.
Yeah, and I think that one big compensation or one something that we can do to appease the fans is to win the FA Cup. If we get the league title, fair enough. I'm very confident we'll get that one. But you see, the FA Cup has eluded Kotoko for 2 times running, and a third attempt shouldn't fail. I mean, the fans can't take it if we are able to get to the final again and lose, because we lost in 2011, if I'm correct. We lost in 2012, and I think the 2013-2014 edition, we are in the one system stage, a little close to the last 8. And if we can, I think we should win that. If we can win the FA Cup, in a way, it will make up for the disappointments in Africa, and the fans will be back. I mean, trust Kotoko supporters. One victory and one good show out there will bring them back, because they love it.
Jerome, it's been great sharing your company this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, so thank you all very much for keeping it right here. And we will be back on Thursday with another must-watch edition. That's a very big promise. And also just remember that the EPL is here on the Joy Sports channel. We've got the EPL Highlights show. We've also got the World Series boxing every Friday night as well. There's Sports Today, which comes to you in the mornings on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as well. So what else are you looking for? Everything is right here. So you all stay well. We'll be back on Thursday. Thanks to the whole production team, and thanks to you out there. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have love for sport.